What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03 and eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. The Detroit Pistons just concluded their final preseason game of the year, winning by a final score against the Cleveland Cavaliers of 108-92. In this video, we'll go through some individual performances that I do want to highlight, do some general game recapping, and then talk briefly about the coming week leading up to the official start of the regular season. Before we dive into it, quick little heads up, I am on the road this week, so the audio quality, video quality, not up to par for myself. If you are a new viewer, expect these videos to be higher quality when I get home very soon. So, the first player that I do want to highlight for tonight's game is gonna be Simone Fontecchio. The Detroit Pistons only played their starters for 7 minutes tonight, which led a lot of time for the bench unit to play. And when the bench unit was on the floor, the player that jumped off the screen to me most was definitely Simone Fontecchio. Simone started the game by having a quick little up and under left-handed bucket, and then after that, he was just lights out from three. He finished the game with 18 points in 18 minutes. He was 6 of 11 from the floor, 5 of 10 from three to go along with 3 boards and 2 assists. He was our leading scorer tonight, and overall, I just thought that Simone looked really, really good. Throughout the offseason, we've talked about how I think that Simone Fontecchio should be the starting small forward on this team. So far throughout the preseason, he has not been. I believe he only started 1 game throughout this preseason, and it was in the absence of Tobias Harris. But if there was ever a time where the preseason was an indicator, I think tonight would be a very good time for that to be the case, just because he shot the ball so well, and Simone just plays so much within himself. He doesn't try and force anything. He doesn't take up a bunch of usage. He's happy to make the extra pass. He's willing to defend. He just does all the little things so well, and when his shot is hitting, which is most of the time, things just seem to work out really, really well for Simone Fontecchio. I'm really high on Simone. If you guys have been watching my channel, you know that. He's definitely somebody who I think is a key piece to this team, whether he's going to be starting or coming off the bench. And even though tonight was only a preseason game, I feel like it was a pretty textbook Simone Fontecchio game and what you can expect from him going forward. So, moving on, the second player that I do want to talk about is going to be Paul Reed. As I mentioned, the starters did not play very, very much at all tonight, and Isaiah Stewart himself only played 11 minutes, so that left 18 minutes of play for Paul Reed. He finished the game with 6 points to go along with 9 rebounds. He was 3 of 9 from the field. A few shots he missed felt like ones that were very makeable. The couple shots that he did make, 2 of them were nice mid-range jump shots, and they just felt like really nice, good shots to have from a backup big. They were both not really contested, but just within the flow of the game type of mid-range shots that looked pretty nice. His form is a little bit different, but it looked pretty good. He was able to clean up on the glass. He also got 2 steals, just kind of did his role and played like the version of Paul Reed that I was kind of expecting and hoping to get this offseason when we claimed him off waivers. As I mentioned, the starters didn't play a ton tonight, so kind of digging a little deep here to point out these individual performances, especially because the minutes were just so widespread. Nobody on the Pistons team played more than 24 minutes. So the third player that I do want to highlight is going to be Ron Holland, and he was one of those Pistons that did play 24 minutes. He finished the game with 8 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists to go along with a steal and a block. He also made a 3-pointer tonight. I'm 95% sure that was his first 3-pointer of the preseason. If my memory does serve me correctly, it was just a pretty standard catch and shoot from the top of the key, 3-point line extended. But overall, more of what we saw from Ron Holland in the preseason was on display tonight. We're starting to get a pretty good feel of what Ron Holland can look like in the NBA now that we have seen him in 5 preseason games up against NBA level competition. There's so much athleticism there, so much potential. When he gets downhill, jumps off 2 feet, he's probably going to score, but if he doesn't score, he's going to get fouled. There's just a lot to like about Ron Holland. I know so many people, including myself, talk about his compete level, and it really does just jump off the screen when you watch him play, and that was on display tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, to talk broadly about the entire game, it was pretty cool to watch because the Pistons started their starters. They played one series or one shift as a squad, and then those 5 went to the bench and never checked back in. At that point in time, I think the score was like 25-23 or something like that when they checked out. And the Pistons obviously not only held their own, but they extended that lead, and it was pretty fun to watch. Especially because you might think, oh, well, all that means is that Simone Fontecchio and company were beating up against the Cavaliers bench. That wasn't the case. The Cavs did not pull their starters until middle of the third quarter. Donovan Mitchell played 25 minutes. Darius Garland played 25 minutes. Jared Allen played 26 minutes. A lot of these minutes where these guys played, they were going up against Simone Fontecchio, Paul Reed, Ron Holland, all the guys I mentioned. And during that time, the Pistons extended their lead with their bench players going up against the Cavaliers starters. Now, at the end of the day, it's the preseason. They might have been trying new offensive schemes, doing whatever. It's really, really hard to say on the Cavs end. But what I do know is that the Pistons held their own, and they looked pretty good as far as I'm concerned, especially the bench units who played most of this game. As far as the deeper guys, the bench kind of cuts and everything like that, nothing really to write home about with these guys like Estrada, McCoy, any of these guys who are on Exhibit 10s. Nothing that really caught my eye or jumped off the screen to me. But apparently Tolo Smith did break his hand. I didn't even see it happen. I just heard it from the announcers. Blaha and Kelser mentioned it. And considering that he played 2.5 minutes and then never checked back in, that does sound about right. So definitely hoping the best for Tolo Smith, who was somebody who really caught my attention and I felt like played well in the Summer League. Really was a fan of his game and a fan of him, and it's too bad that he broke his hand while given a chance here in the preseason with the Pistons. So outside of that, nothing too crazy going on now between now and next week. The Detroit Pistons regular season will officially start 1 week from today, Wednesday of next week. That will be October 23rd against the Indiana Pacers at home at the Little Caesars Arena. So in between now and then, we'll definitely have some videos on the channel, just talking about general stuff. Probably going to do a video talking about a potential Asar Thompson update. Probably do a video talking about things to be aware of as a fan leading into the season, things like that. And then, of course, once we get to the start of next week, probably do some game previews and everything in between. It's going to be a pretty tough schedule for the first part of the season. In case you guys were not aware, the first 6 games of our schedule are arguably against the 6 best teams in the East. So, going to be tough, but this preseason, finishing off 3-2, as far as that goes, pretty happy with how that went. So, I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch up soon.